Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's session, we are going to understand a very important concept, the meaning of the term entity. The word entity actually comes from the word existence. It simply means something that exists on its own and has a separate identity. So, when you say something is an entity, we mean it is recognized as a distinct person, distinct unit, or a separate unit which can act independently, own things, make decisions, and be identified separately from others. Let's start with something we all understand, an individual. You and I are natural entities. We exist by birth. We have our own names, our own identity, and we are recognized by law as separate persons. We can do so many things in our own name. We can own property, open a bank account, earn income, pay taxes, and even go to court. So, a natural person exists and acts because of nature, not because of law. Now, let's compare that with a business. A business is not like a human being that is born naturally. It doesn't exist on its own. It has to be created by law. When people register or legally form a business, the law gives it a kind of life and identity. From that point, it becomes a business entity, also known as an artificial person. Why artificial? Because it is not born naturally. It exists only because the law recognizes it as a separate person. And once it is created, this business entity can do many of the same things a person can do. It can own property, sign contracts, earn income, pay taxes, borrow money, and even sue or be sued, all in its own name, not in the name of its owner. So, in simple terms, a person exists by birth, but a business exists because the law gives it life and identity. Now that we understand this, let's take an example. A company. A company is the best example of a separate legal entity. It exists independently from the people who own it. These people are called shareholders. In the eyes of law, the company is treated just like a person. It has its own name, its own rights, and its own responsibilities. So a company can do everything in its own name. It can own property, open bank accounts, take loans, sign contracts, and even file cases in court. If the company earns profit, that money belongs to the company, not directly to the shareholders. They only get a part of it later as dividends. And if the company faces losses or debts, the owners don't have to pay from their personal money. Their liability is limited to what they have invested. Even if a director or shareholder leaves or passes away, the company continues to exist. This is called perpetual succession. For example, think about Reliance Industries Limited. It continues to operate smoothly even if the shareholders change. That is because Reliance is a separate legal entity. It owns its assets and liabilities, not any single person. Now let's look at the other side, a sole proprietorship. Here, there is only one owner, and that owner is a business. There is no legal separation between the two. In the eyes of law, the business and the owner are one and the same. So, whatever the business earns is the owner's personal income. And if the business faces losses or loans, the owner is personally responsible even if they have to pay from their own property. Usually, the owner uses the same name and bank account for both personal and business use. And if the owner dies, retires, or cannot continue, the business ends too because it doesn't have a separate existence. For example, take Rahul's bakery. Rahul owns and runs it alone. If the bakery earns profit, it's Rahul's personal income. But if it owes 1 lakh to suppliers, Rahul has to pay it from his own pocket because legally Rahul and the bakery are one and the same. Let's sum it up clearly. An individual is a natural entity because it exists by birth, by nature. A business is an artificial entity because it exists by law through registration or formation. Both are treated as persons in the eyes of law. But the key difference lies in how they come into existence. So, whenever you hear the word entity, remember it simply means something that exists and has a separate identity. Whether it is a natural person like you and me or an artificial person like a company created by law.